Good morning, everyone, and thank you. This photo was also taken a few years ago, but as you can see, nothing has changed. Not here then, and not here now. All right, so today we're talking about the data value chain. Let's define it first. So the data value chain encompasses the entire life cycle of data, from its generation and collection to its analysis and hopefully utilization. So to maximize the value that you really can extract from your data and going up on this pyramid of knowledge, let's say, you really need to go and strengthen each link of the chain. And 2025 is the year of data. It's another exciting year for data. And AI adoption simply has accelerated this trend. And as AI becomes increasingly integrated into our business and our operation, the role of data becomes more strategic and is more pronounced than ever. There are strong signals that the landscape is shifting. There's some good news. The principles that underpinning high-performing data platforms haven't really changed. And I'll remind you about them. It's domain-oriented architectures and decentralized ownership, data as a product, so the way in which data is engineered, packaged, and delivered to meet specific business needs. It self-serves data infrastructure as a platform, and is finally federated computational and automated governance. So all of that hasn't changed. The second shift that we're seeing is the role of unstructured data. Think about text, images, videos. All of these are becoming increasingly valuable in the era of AI, and we're seeing businesses really developing strategies to leverage this data at speed. A recent global research study estimates to around 90% of data is unstructured, and really this is all an unharvested gold mine that we're not taking care of potentially. Quality and trustworthiness are as important as ever, and they're becoming more and more important. But they're still remaining challenges for a lot of organizations, and this is usually due for fragmented systems or data proliferations. The role of AI, of course, like we hear AI everywhere, like in this talk as well, we hear a lot about it, and this is a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing because, as you will see, you can help us with can help us leverage our data value chain, and it's a curse because, of course, there's a lot of questions that we really need to answer, and all of those are all questions around data proliferations and platforms. What are we going to do about it? And last but not least, we're seeing a more and more focus about return on investment for data initiatives. And teams are under a lot of pressure to really demonstrate value. Okay. So on the looking glass for this lens, we have collected 42 trends. There's a lot of them. I cannot cover all of them. I'll give it a good crack, but I will highlight some that I found were interesting, or at least are interesting for me. So the first one I'd like to talk to you about is the integrated data and AI platform. This is really a trend that continues from last year's looking glass. So what I really wanted to highlight here is that, because this is usually a conversation that we have with clients as well, is that integrating data and AI platform does not mean making them the same thing. For one thing, the skill set can be different, the tech stack is different, these are obvious. But what we really mean is consolidate the treatment that we have of data and AI platform, the ways of thinking, the ways of working, what we're trying to do with it. And of course, the goal is to hopefully enable AI as a service across our organization and really democratize the use of AI and the power of AI so that we can make it more accessible to the entire organization. As I was talking before, there's a rising focus on demonstrating return on investment for data initiatives. And here we note a trend in the adoption of FinOps. FinOps is the operational and cultural practices that were born to control costs in the cloud space, which are now being adopted in the data space. And really it is about connecting technical investment to business outcomes, but it's not just about tracking costs. It's not about like saying how much are we spending. It's also to hopefully reward and understand the benefit that the data is bringing to us, and reward the teams that have been the data custodians. Once again, here AI can help us with on this journey. For example, by helping us track data lineage, effectively the connection from the sources all the way to the outcomes, and they will help us improve return on investment and improve the value to our customers. Two other ones that I'm quite excited about is like data catalogs. We all know what that is, the inventory of our data products and our data assets. Knowledge graphs, also that become more and more important in the age of AI. And effectively, these are an organized representation of these data assets and these business entities, and most importantly, the relationship. And once again, these two tools combined with generative AI can really help us unlock new insights, making it easier to discover the data and making it easier to improve the way in which we interact with the data. And talk to data is another trend that's worth having a look. Think about literally talking to the data, like saying what you want, and then that getting translated into your SQL queries, Cipher queries for example, if you're looking at Neo4js, and then all of that getting visualized back to you. This is really a trend to watch for that we've seen organizations pick up on, and that really democratizes the use of data for non-technical people. So watch this space. This is interesting. Of course, we're here to make money. So everyone is looking for ways to monetize this data. So data monetization and collaboration through data marketplaces is becoming more relevant. And in this space, we're seeing the emergence of techniques and tools like data clean rooms, Snowflakes and AWS have got offerings, data contracts, so effectively contracts between providers and consumers of data. And all of these are ways to improve both the security and transparency of this data sharing. So these are also trends that I suggest that you keep an eye on. And finally, this last two is really a reminder again. AI is not just there so that we can chat to it and be cool. It can really help us to build this data product, to create this data product and manage them together. Like they can take away a lot of the complexities by streamlining the process, for example, to parse and summarize the unstructured data that I was talking about before, or transform knowledge management. And hopefully, by following these trends and keep on picking also on some of the ones that I haven't talked about, you can really truly find new ways to leverage your data for a competitive advantage. And at Thoughtworks, we've been quite lucky. We partnered with several leading organizations to strengthen the data ecosystems, and we've really been at the bleeding edge of data transformation. We've implemented and really invented the data mesh longer than anyone, and we learned a few things along the way. So this one here is just an example of that. And it's an example that's close to my heart because it's a top global pharma that was working in the oncology research, and that may have touched some of our lives. And what we've done with this client is really not only help them with the goals, we really see them make them leaps and bounds and to achieve those outcomes, which weren't just about lowering the costs, but was, of course, improving the speed to oncology research outcomes, which is very important. How was all of that possible? All of that was possible thanks to a lot of the things that we talked today. It was knowledge graph, of course, semantic knowledge graph in the oncology research. It was data products, data platforms, LLM-based agents for the discoverability of data. And all of that really help this client achieve those outcomes. So I'd like to leave you with a few hopefully actionable insights that you can take with you so that you can leverage and hopefully put all these things into practice. The first one, well, probably the most important one, is track impact. If you're not doing already, establish mechanisms so that you can monitor the ROI and ensure that your data investments are driving the value. Design for adoption. So that means fostering collaboration between your data teams and your business teams, mapping user decision journeys, and hopefully connecting the use cases to the data product. Lay the right foundations. I could say adopt the data mesh, but really this is about decentralizing ownership and reducing friction between data consumers and data product. automate governance. I've talked about it a little bit. AI can really be a help in making our data products more quality and more trustworthy. Trustworthiness is the most important characteristics, in my opinion, of the data assets that we have. And last but not least, elevate unstructured data. Treat it as a core asset. If you're not doing it already, it's a really important. It's a gold mine of that you can find in there. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with a personal thought, which is it's not all about technology. It's not all about tools. Our organizations are complex socio-technical systems, so it's just as important to understand these trends and the technologies. It's just as important as understanding how to experiment and learning how to evolve our ways of working and evolve our organization. And only that will make us successful in the area of data and AI. Thank you. And I look forward to talking to you later.